I'd spent some time today just talking a little bit about leadership and networking from my perspective and from my friend CEOs from their perspectives. And so I'll go into that. I'm going to keep it relatively short, probably 20-25 minutes, because what I really want to get to is your questions and have the dialogue. And so the harder the questions, the better, right? So please do that. And I'm completely into challenging the status quo. I have two icons. One is I have a painting in my office of the skeptic, which is someone who obviously challenges the status quo, and the other is James Dean, who I think being a rebel is the key to one of the keys to leadership. So what I wanted to do is maybe just give you a construct of the way I think of leadership and the things that have proven over time to be most effective. And some of it will be intuitive, some of it will be counterintuitive, and so anyway, so we'll just dive into it. So basically, at the highest level, I think that from my perspective, as you're going through your career, I think that leadership, first of all, is something you need to work on every single day, and that you need to say, how can I advance my leadership skills, my leadership position? And in my mind, it really comes down to three things. The first thing is that you need to have something to say, right? That if you're just sitting around and you don't have opinions, you don't have any contrarian views, you're just sort of one of the many, that you're really not going to excel. And it's the people who have the ideas, who have something to say, that excel. The second thing is that you need somebody to listen. So if you have a lot to say, but there's no one who is listening to what you have to say, then it doesn't make any difference. And so really building your network and the people who will listen to your ideas is critically important. A lot of people will say they have a lot of people that can listen, but in fact they really don't. So I'll talk a little bit about that. And the third one, and I think probably one of the biggest differentiators of leaders versus people who aren't leaders, is that after you have something to say, after you have someone to listen, you actually have to have the guts to say it, right? So a lot of people will be thinking in their minds about, boy, I have this great idea, and boy, that person would really love to hear it, but they just sit there and either they will go outside in the hall and talk to their colleagues about, oh, boy, that guy was full of it, or gee, we should have said this, and really don't have the guts to say it. And so in my mind, it really, as a high-level construct, it's about something to say, someone to listen, and having the guts to say it. So let me go through each of those really quickly. The first is around something to say. That it's, in my mind, there are really four pillars that every professional, especially people in business and MBA students, need to develop to really have something to say. The first is you have to understand business strategy. You have to understand how to formulate strategy. You have to understand how to do strategic analyses. You need to be a strategic thinker. And so that's a really important part of it. But a lot of people would be surprised that it doesn't end there, or at least maybe intellectually they wouldn't be surprised, but the way they actually act, that most people think that it sort of ends there, that leaders are these big strategic thinkers. But really, I think the other three are the things that differentiate leaders from the others. The second pillar is that you really have to understand how your company works. Right? Or how, if you're in consulting, how your client's company works. You need to understand how to ship product. You need to understand how to manufacture a product. You need to understand customer service. You need to understand how finance works. You need to understand all the different parts of the company. So it's not just about the corporate planning, corporate strategy. It's about really understanding that. And a key part of understanding operations is understanding technology. That today, what's fundamentally different than the way it was when I started my career is that technology is a huge differentiator in the way companies compete. In fact, when we started Infosys Consulting, we said really there are two things that we want to do that are going to establish the next generation of consulting, and that is, number one, is we want to have a globally distributed workforce that interacts on a day-to-day basis. And number two is we want to break down this ridiculous barrier between strategy and technology. Right? In a lot of companies, there will be the strategy group and there will be the technology group, but they really never work together. So to me, it seems like a terribly antiquated notion. I mean, how can you talk about serving a customer or interacting with a customer without understanding the technologies? How can you talk about supply chain and optimizing your supply chain without understanding the technologies? So in my mind, these two things have to come together.